What's up, people? It's another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best new metal podcast from two dudes who are really there. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horsecow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM. Tim, how's it going?
Great, man. Feeling good.
All right, we're feeling good. So, what are we doing tonight, folks? Tonight, we're doing another deep dive, and then we're going to do it. So, truth be told, Tim and I are recording two back to back. This is the first of two, and this is the one where I don't need any notes. The next one will be the one where Tim doesn't need any notes. So, what are we doing tonight? We are doing Failure, the band from California. Probably their best album, in my opinion. This is 1996's Fantastic Planet. I have so much to say about this, I could take an hour myself. So, Tim, let's start it off.
Can I go ahead and tell you that I think The Heart is a Monster is their best record?
No, that's not. Well, that's, you can tell me that. That's not crazy. They're one of the bands. I put them up there with Refused and a few other bands who had comeback records that were absolutely amazing. I actually think the Refused album was the same year, but it's hard to disappear and come back and make a comeback record and not sound like you're a rehash. The Heart is a Monster was great. I mean, what was it? What was the song?
Hot Traveler.
Hot Traveler. I actually saw that tour in Philly at the Electric Factory. The openers were Hum and Nothing.
Yeah, I was there. It was
great. It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
I fucking love AM Amnesia. That's a fucking amazing track.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Ken Andrews can write music. Like, you want to talk about, we'll talk about when we get into the album. You want to talk about a guy that can write a hook? Not only write a hook, but write a chorus? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. All right. Released August 13th, 1996 through Warner Brothers. Was supposed to be released through Slash Recordings.
Yeah, it was a whole fucked up scenario, right? Where they were done, but then they were told the label was folding or something.
Yeah. So I went ahead and in my notes I said, "Who the fuck is Slash Records?" Anyway, I did a little research. So this was actually the last record ever released on Slash before their merger with London Recordings in '96.
Okay.
So Slash was an American label, originally specializing in local punk rock bands. They're active from 1978 to 2000. It was notable as one of the first and most successful independent record labels in alternative music before its eventual acquisition by Warner Music Group.
Okay.
So here's where I'm confused, though. Towards the end of the recording of Fantastic Planet, Failure learned that Slash was putting itself up for sale and subsequently would not be able to release the band's album. Fantastic Planet remained shelved for a year after its completion, which the record took forever. And I'm going to tell you why in a little bit, which was very, very weird to hear. Anyway, it remained shelved for a year. When it was completed in February of 95, with the band unofficially shopping the album to other labels, while hoping that Slash would renew its distribution deal with Warner Brothers Records. Upon hearing Fantastic Planet and liking the album, Warner Brothers agreed to directly sign the band in February of 96, a whole year later. But the album was not released for another 6 months due to issues around record contract negotiations. So
that's some shit.
They had the record done literally in like 94, basically. It took till halfway through 1996 to release it. So if you actually think about this record, if it's done in 94, this is fucking way ahead of its time.
Yeah, because this means it comes out in 95.
Yeah.
Which is, that's smack dab in the middle of grunge is still a thing. Korn has yet to rear its ugly head. New metal and Korn is particular, but new metal is yet to come around. We were still in a very weird experimental phase where all sorts of shit was getting play. This could have been, woulda, shoulda, could have been huge.
Yeah. So I read a bunch of interviews and I have a bunch of direct quotes from the band. So this is actually really good stuff here. Ken said that Warner Brothers was the distributor of Slash, who they were signed to. But, once, like I said, when they got a hold of the record, they liked it. The current president liked it. They waited another 6 months. So basically they said it was this is in quotes, an absolute fucking nightmare to get this record out. And they basically were like, we're done. This record's never coming out. What the fuck are we going to do? Because if you think about it, in 95, 96, you couldn't just release a record yourself.
It had to be on a major. It had to be on a major. Yeah.
It never would have worked. So they basically were like, yeah, this is being shelved. Yeah. So eventually they put it out, and then you see what happens from there. So before I get into more of that stuff, I have some other just things about it, and then we'll get into more of it. So produced by the band, recorded at FPS Studios in LA and Mad Hatter in Silver Lake. And why does Mad Hatter sound so familiar?
I don't know.
Doesn't it sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
I wonder if if you want to look that up. It's one word, Madhatter. So anyway, record is a running time of 68 minutes, 17 tracks. So they basically rented a house in Pujunga, which is just outside of LA. It was owned by Lita Ford. So Lita Ford owned the studio. They rented it out and they self-produced it there. And I'm pretty sure this was Ken's first record he ever did.
I think so. So Mad Hatter Studios is owned by Scientology. It is owned by the AV arm of the Church of Scientology. It was
Oh my
purchased in
God.
2003. Yeah, that's kind of wild.
So before that, before it was owned by them, they did the record then.
Yes.
Mm.
It was exposed as a Scientology front. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, that is funny. So the record Fantastic Plan is named after Renee Lalock's stop motion science fiction film. You ever seen it?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So this is their third record. Then they didn't have another one until 19 years later with The Heart is a Monster, which is fucking wild. 19 years later.
I remember this band. I remember them coming out. I was at Lollapalooza 97, but I missed them because at this point they were only still playing the second stage. So I missed seeing them. And I know that there were rumors of really bad drug problems, drug abuse.
Yeah.
And not soon after Lollapalooza, they basically called it a day. And I remember being crushed because I thought this album was absolutely amazing. We're gonna go through the tracks, but I mean, again, the guy writes fucking hooks. And
Yeah, dude.
it sounded like the drugs coupled with the stress of getting the record out. That would do anybody in, right? I mean, people don't realize you can't, it's not just creativity. You need to be successful in the music industry. It actually is a little bit of resolve as well.
Yeah, I mean the drugs, you're right, is a big hit on this. You know, I read a bunch of interviews online. They're basically saying like they would just wake up, be fucked up still, get more fucked up, sit
Yep.
alone in rented rooms and just write. Then
Mm-hmm.
they would all meet up and get fucked up again and like, yo, here's the song. And they would just hash it out right there. The
Yeah.
other, and I have this in my notes, but I remembered it from writing it down. The crazy thing about recording this record is they would write a song, record it, completely produce it, mix it, master it, and then shelve it and be like, all right, let's work on the next one. So they wrote all the songs, but they recorded them, finished them,
Mm-hmm.
like completely finished them, put them on this side, and then went to the next one. And that to me, that is super fucking wild because how do you get consistency with your mixes like that?
Honestly, it goes to show how talented all three of these guys are.
Yeah, like how I want to ask like a producer that, like, how do you get consistency in your sounds and everything? Because being fucked up, the guitar mic is getting moved.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get the exact same cone placement and all that
Mm-hmm.
shit. That's fucking
Mm-hmm.
wild, dude. For your first
Yep.
record, that takes balls to do, man.
Um, so let's think about that, right? So these guys go to hell and back. They end up on Lollapalooza, and the thing about Lollapalooza is when Korn drops off, people might not know when Korn dropped off, they did double duty. They played a daytime set on the main stage, and then they played the second stage.
Oh,
So they
really?
were playing 2 shows a day.
Oh, wow.
And I must have seen one of the last dates that Korn played. I saw them in Camden at the Blockbuster Sony Man Music Center, and then 4 days later they were off the tour.
Why did they drop off?
Korn, somebody got sick. I think they had like viral pneumonia or something. But I think at that point, Tim, this is 97. So they have been touring nonstop. They stopped only to record Life is Peachy, and then they went right back out on the road. So they were just hammering for a good 3-4 years. I mean,
Which you should when you're that young, and you
right,
know what I mean?
right. So these guys do this album. It takes forever to get out. It comes out, and then the band implodes. But then look what happens. So you have Greg Edwards is the guitarist. He goes off and does that band Autolux. Have you ever heard that album?
I haven't.
It's actually really good. In the same vein, really, really good. They open for Nine Inch Nails, really, really talented. In the same vein as Failure. So he does that. The drummer Kelly Scott, he kind of dicks around, does a bunch of different things. But Ken Andrews. So Ken Andrews leaves Failure and he creates this band On. On's first album was absolutely fantastic. I forget the name of it. Satellite something or other. I forget what the name of it was, but the first 3 tracks on that album, Shifting Skin, that was it. Come On Collapse, Slingshot, Soluble Words. Just listen to the first 3 tracks of that album and you're like, oh my God, this is Failure 2.0. So he does that. It kind of just goes away. It's Failure with a little bit more electronics. Then he did Year of the Rabbit. Do you remember Year of the Rabbit? He did that EP. I bought the CD and T-shirt pre-order from the band when they were selling it themselves. It's upstairs somewhere. It's not even black anymore. It's like gray. But they did Year of the Rabbit, which was a much heavier rock sound for Failure. He did the EP. He did the first album with them. Then he disappeared. There is a live album that Ken Andrews did that I forget the name of it. You know what? I should look because I'll bet you I have it in my YouTube music. But he did a live album where it was just him. He played his stuff, Failure, On, Year of the Rabbit. He played all of his side project stuff. It was absolutely awesome.
Oh, okay.
So he does that. Kelly Scott's doing his thing. Greg Edwards doing his thing. Troy Van Leeuwen was their second guitarist that they signed. I think in '94 they brought him on, so he toured with them for Fantastic Planet. He's the guy you'll see him familiar. He was in A Perfect Circle.
Okay.
And then I think he disappeared, and then he played. I think he played on like Queens of the Stone Age. But so this is guys that were really talented, and then they get back together, and like you said, they do A Heart Is a Monster, which is just an amazing, amazing album.
It's really fucking good, man. I listened to these 2 records back to back, and I'm like, dude, I remember seeing them when this record came out. And I was like, dude, like, yeah, this record's really good. Because I'm not gonna lie, I got into Failure way later than you did. I remember hearing this record at a party a long time ago, and I was like blown away. Like, yeah, this is fucking amazing. Who is this?
Yeah,
this is around the same time that the dude I was hanging out with got me into this. He gave me the Last Code 7 record, which is so fucking good. Which I did not know they just put out a new record. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, he gave me that. That's when I got into Queens of the Stone Age because they were fans of all this stuff. Caius, all that shit. Caius.
Oh, that Desert Stout. I love it. Love it.
They got me into all this stuff, man. And I just went on the rabbit hole after that. But this was probably around 2007-ish when I heard some of that stuff, and then I remember seeing them in 2014 at Hum, and I think I had my timeline wrong because I was with my ex. It was 2006 to. It was anyway.
Yeah, so if you can find it, his solo album was Secrets of the Lost Satellite, but he did Secrets of the Lost Satellite Tour, which is his live album, and he opened with Stuck on You. In Your Way, he plays Come On Collapse, he plays Soluble Words, he plays Hunted, a whole bunch of Year of the Rabbit stuff, Sergeant Politeness, and he closes with The Nurse Who Loved Me in Daylight. So it crushes it. But
it makes sense because Perfect Circle covered the Nurse track.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you also catch there was the snippet about how they got recruited to do the Depeche Mode tribute album for the masses, and they played Enjoy the Silence, and the guitarist of Depeche Mode was like, yeah, his arrangement's better than ours.
I read that the other day, and I had to listen to it, and I was like, I don't really agree with that, but I see where he's coming from.
Yeah, I am just they did the album Golden, which is all live and outtakes and stuff. I mean, just highly, highly talented. I remember when they announced the reunion, I was sitting there speechless because this is one of those bands I never got to see live. They played the TLA, it was a Tree of Stars tour. Guzzy was with me, and he just got his knee replaced, so I had to get there at like 30 minutes before doors to get into the bar to steal a bar stool so we could sit on it. But there was no opening act. They played like an outtake. They played scenes from one of Tarkovsky's movies. So he's this obscure Russian director. He was famous, in those days. It was one of the really weird stuff. And they opened with another Space song. And I'm not gonna lie, man, I had tears in my eyes.
That's a
because
great
I
track.
mean that's how they opened, and they come out and you can kind of see them behind the stage. And as the music starts, the curtain comes down and it's them playing. And I literally had tears in my eyes because I was like, this is a band I've been waiting 20 something years to see. It was awesome. It was awesome. And
Yeah,
they sound, and if you look up any live videos from them, they fucking sound great. They nail it
there's
live.
there's nothing wrong with getting emotional when you see one of your favorite bands. I've done it many times.
Oh, it was something else. It was definitely dusty in there. I'll say it was definitely dusty in there.
The first time I seen Devin Townsend, I did the same fucking thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, music aids in memories in all sorts of ways. I got to shout out to my buddy Rob Roncaroni. He's how I found this band. He's how I found 90% of the bands that I came to grow in love, and then my taste went in a totally different direction it is. But this is one of those, hey, what are we listening to? Because he would drive and I got Failure. What is this? All right, well, check it out. And yeah.
Do
All right.
you
So
Are you familiar with Devin Townsend's record Addicted?
no.
Okay. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Anyway, so the record produced 3 singles, Stuck on You, Pitiful, and Saturday Savior. All great fucking tracks. So the album's first single, Stuck on You, which is an appropriately catchy mid-tempo track and metaphorically compares infatuation to a nagging tune stuck in one's head.
Yeah, an earworm. Yeah.
Yeah. Became a minor alternative radio hit and achieved light to medium rotation on MTV, but failed to chart significantly. The song peaked at number 31 on the US Billboard mainstream rock chart and number 23 on the modern rock chart.
Do you remember the video? Do you remember it?
Mm-mm.
It's like a ripoff from the opening of a Bond movie.
Oh, okay.
So it's in like slow-mo and there's stuff coming in from the sides. And yeah, it is a perfect ripoff. Yeah.
Yeah, so other songs such as Saturday Savior Pitiful received some airplay from adventurous minded DJs, but no more videos were made for any of the album's tracks. And due to the state of disarray at their label at the time, little effort was put into its promotion. So here we have another band with a ridiculously good record that got no fucking no just
No help. No
no
help.
help at all. And it's kind of annoying because I feel like when a band writes a record as good as this, who's another band we can compare this to? Glassjaw.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like when bands do like put out records as good and then nothing gets done with it, it's just like a fucking major failure. And not to say
I mean,
that name because of the band, but it's a major fucking failure.
it's actually a travesty, right? Because like
Yeah.
look at Glassjaw, look at these guys. I mean, one could argue let's want to talk about new metal, right? The second Ultraspank album was great. Those guys went right into low pro, never got the nod, and this was a talented band. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
I mean, it's
look at Far,
yeah.
um, a California
Another
band that
band,
just that
band I got into at the same time.
Water and Solutions is just amazing.
Amazing
But
record.
some of it is also luck too, because I view Far through the same lens that I view Thrice,
Yeah.
because they're kind of in the same neighborhood. Far never caught, Thrice caught. It was actually, what was it? The Artist in the Ambulance was their first album that really took up for them.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just
amazing record. We have to do that one. That's
we have to
record.
see. I only really like Illusion Safety, but
I'll do that.
I think some bands, honestly, Tim, it's sad to say that some bands just get lucky and they're in the right place at the right time with all the stars align, and then the shit just happens.
Yeah, I mean, but it's crazy because like like you look at it and there's another thing. The record didn't even hit the Billboard 200 at all, despite receiving critical acclaim. So the album was mentioned as, an amazing record, one of the best of the 90s, one of the best of that year, and it just got no love from because of how bad it was just promoted and stuff, it's just fucking annoying.
I saw a quote somewhere, maybe it was Wikipedia, from Butch Vig, the producer from Garbage,
I was getting
who said
this.
that this is one of his top 25 best albums of all time.
Yep. I was getting to that. Yep.
That's I mean, you're right. I mean, and when we go through the songs, I mean, there's 17 tracks on the album, and there's 3 segues. So that means it's 14 songs. They put out a 14 song album that I'm going to go out on a limb without counting. I'm going to say at least 11 of them are bangers and could be singles in and of themselves.
I would agree 100% with that.
that is a conversion ratio that bands would kill to have half that.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I think there's about 3 songs on there that I could see like,
Take it or
you could have
leave
left
it.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Um, oh yeah, so we talked about this, but apparently the band took forever to do because, or apparently the album took forever to do because the band instituted a process where they would write a song and then fully produce it and finish it, then go on to write another song. That's what we already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to get into some more quotes from the band. So Greg, our heaviness came from the early Helmet and classic rock like Led Zeppelin, stuff like that. Grunge exploded between Comfort and Magnified, which I've heard them records, but I don't remember what they sound like. I should go
Uh,
back.
I will say that they're good on each album. There's a good 3 to 5 songs where you're like, yo, that's fucking great, but they're not as good front to back as this is.
All right. So, like I said, grunge exploded between Comfort and Magnified. So we just did what we wanted to do. Going into Fantastic Planet, I think we just wanted to make an epic record. I think Magnified gave us a lot of confidence in terms of our ability to write interesting pop songs and still have a cinematic sensibility. I think we wanted to expand on that and maybe make a record which would hit people right off the bat. And I think reading that quote, I think they pretty much nailed that because
Yeah.
that record from start is just like, whoa.
Yes.
Don't get
Yes.
me wrong. I honestly think this is a grunge record. If you really think about it, this
Oh, it
is a grunge
absolutely
record.
is.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
is. So I think they nailed what they were going for.
But
If you
this
ask me.
is grunge, not the Nirvana.
Yeah,
This is not the
yeah.
Nirvana Soundgarden Pearl Jam version of grunge. This is the polished Alice in Chains Stone Temple Pilots version of grunge, where it's
Absolutely.
way more commercially. I don't want to say commercially palatable, but there was less of a sneering abrasion to it, if that makes any sense.
No, there's definitely parts of this record where you could say, "Oh, that's a Nirvana riff," but
Mm-hmm.
you're completely right. It's its own entity if you think about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so another Greg thing. We rented a rehearsal space in this big blue building in California. I remember we got the recording equipment, and that was the very beginning of do-it-yourself recording. I mean, we were one of the first bands to take on that ourselves completely because Ken was such a proficient engineer. We used these ADAT machines, and I think Pitiful was the first song and idea we worked on. So, what do you think of Pitiful as a track? I think it's great.
It actually is really good. So when we go through the tracks, there's a couple points where you're like, was this a filler? This might have been a filler, but for the most part, yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I have about 8 more if you want to go through them.
Go.
So Ken goes to say, with Saturday Savior, I just got a Telecaster for $400 at the Guitar Center. Went home, set it up with my tuner, rat pedal, and Fender twin in my apartment. I bought a bunch of heroin and smoked some and sat down and played. We recorded a demo of that song in the rehearsal space so we wouldn't waste time experimenting when we moved to the house to do the album. So basically, they were doing with what every home musician does now. They start their computer, they write a riff, they bring it to practice. So if you think about it, they were the pioneers of this shit, man.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I'm sure there's other bands doing it, but they're sitting here telling you
That
this is
type of
how
collaboration, they literally were doing it a good decade before anybody else. Before a decade before anybody else started to make that more the rule than the exception.
Yeah. I mean, it's just wild to hear, dude, because you think like who's the first people doing this with computers? And I think back then they did have Pro Tools, but it was like wildly expensive,
Yeah, and
wildly
wildly
hard,
primitive. Yeah,
wildly primitive, wildly hard to fucking get working because back then, let's think about it. Computers in 1996, 95, they were fucking shit.
and they were slow as fuck. Yeah, yeah.
How big were the hard drives back then? Like fucking
20 gigs, if that much. Yeah,
right, dude.
right.
Like
Now
your floppy
I got
disk.
10 times that in my phone.
Yeah, your floppy disk were what, 3.5 megs?
Megs. Yeah,
Megs, people. If you're young and a megabyte, 3 megabytes is
that
like
is something insane to think about.
that's like half of a master, not even. You know what I mean? That's fucking wild, dude. So, another thing from Ken. There was a lot of creative battles in terms of how I wanted to do things on Fantastic Planet. The drug problem wasn't quite a problem yet, but it was definitely seeping in. In terms of the material and content, the drugs, mostly heroin and pot. So they were smoking a lot of
The
heroin and
heroin,
pot,
yeah.
which is I've never done heroin like that, so I couldn't tell you, but I don't know if it hits you differently if you smoke it. I'm sure it doesn't, but
Not my thing.
I'm sure injecting it is way worse. Like I said, I couldn't tell you, and if I did, I would tell you because I have no fucking. I don't really care anymore. I'm 40 years
Yeah,
old, whatever.
that's a different high because that's right into the bloodstream.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So,
Mm.
another Greg. Before the heroin really took over for me, I'd wake up, make a bunch of coffee, and drink a lot of Bailey's Irish Cream. Then went on for a period. That went on for a period of time. It was Bailey's and marijuana. The heroin kind of came up underneath that and took over. So basically, I
You ever
guess
wake up and have
writing
a
the
Bailey's in
record.
your coffee? You ever wake up and have Bailey's in your coffee?
I don't drink coffee.
Uh, it adds a good taste, but dude, Bailey's is like it's like 40 proof. You know, it's like you're not drinking it for the liquor. You might as well just use coffee mate. Now, whiskey in your coffee, well, this is a different fucking animal because this is a
Ugh,
party, right?
I
This is a
hate.
party.
I don't hate coffee. I don't. I just don't really care for it. But I couldn't imagine putting fucking Jack Daniels in it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Is it really?
Have you ever had the Patron
Yeah.
coffee tequila?
Oh no.
Dude, I am convinced you put that on ice and stick a straw in it, I will drink that shit straight. It tastes just like good coffee.
Have you ever had the PBR coffee?
Yeah, it's not bad, dude.
Is it really?
I've had the PBR one. I've had the Dunkin' Donuts, the malt coffee. Yeah, whatever. Shout out to Raja Clayton Liquors because I go in there. I'm like, yo, this looks good. I'll take a 6 of that, a 12 of that, a 6 of that. I come home and it's like $300 with the beer, and she's like, "What did you buy?" I'm like, "I have no idea."
Yeah, you always have some wild shit, man.
Weird shit in the basement.
Lemongrass with skunk piss. Fucking, it's crazy, dude.
I gotta write that down. That'll be our label: Lemongrass and Skunk Piss Records.
In 2009, Just Press Play named Fantastic Planet the third best album of the 1990s. In 2014, Decibel magazine inducted Fantastic Planet into their Hall of Fame, naming it a cult classic and the album that paints its heaviness in a gorgeous way. In 2022, during their first trailer for the upcoming Failure documentary, record producer and musician Butch Vig acclaims Fantastic Planet as one of his top 25 albums of all time. He also describes the lead riff in Stuck on You as an SOS being beamed in from another galaxy, and that he's obsessed with it. And I 100% agree that song is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One more right here. Tool, Paramore, Cave-In, and Deftones have all cited the Los Angeles-based trio as an influence, and this collection is regarded by many as their masterpiece. So,
And this is on my list of 5 perfect albums. This is on it. This is absolutely on it. I can't, even with the songs that I'm not as stoked on, this is a perfect album. For a long album, this is a perfect album. All right, so let's go in, Tim. So here we go. So total runtime is 1 hour and 8 minutes, which is really kind of long. When you take out the segues, which are all about $1.20, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you lose off. Still, that's an hour and 4 minutes. That's a fucking album. All right, so we have the leadoff track, Saturday Savior.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you go first.
As a whole, one of my favorite Failure songs. I think it's a perfect song to start the record off with. Perfect opener, man. Right away, you get that grunge feeling right out of it, and I love it. You know what's funny about this record and this songs, man? You can. There's a certain thing about drug use and writing music, because even with the next record we're going to talk about, I don't want to say what it is yet, so because I don't know when this is coming out before. Anyway, there's like when you listen to like Ministry's Filth Pig, you can hear the drug use in that record.
Oh yeah,
you know what I
mean? The one before, Psalm 69.
Yeah,
Psalm 69. Downward Spiral. Was
when you listen
high?
to Downward Spiral?
Yeah.
Yes, you can hear the fucking angst in the drug use in that record. I'm sorry to tell you, use your illusions. You can hear it in there.
What's that quote from Bill Hicks? It's actually in the Tool album where he goes, "All you people that think drugs are terrible and haven't added anything to society, go home and look at all your albums and all your records and throw them out, because all those wonderful artists that have changed your life and made these amazing albums that made you stop and think and listen and open your mind to new levels of consciousness." And he stops and goes, real fucking high on drugs. And he's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong at all. Like, you can hear just they were on drugs.
Yeah. But I mean, it's amazing that they can perform the way that they do being on drugs. So think about the last album you heard where it starts with a very understated, not slow, but understated. This is just guitar intro, right?
Yeah.
And then the drums come in and the bass comes in and the second guitar track comes in. And it's just the thing about this album, and it's going to repeat, I'm going to say it like 4,000 times, the choruses of these songs are memorable and singable. Because I had it on last weekend when I was making dog food. And Kim comes in the house and I'm yelling at the top of my lungs, Saturday Saint. Like, it's without even knowing what line's coming next, you know exactly what the choruses are. It's amazing. So then this was Tim. Was this the leadoff single? Was this the leadoff single?
No, Stuck on You.
Stuck on You was okay.
I think this was the third single.
I can tell you on Spotify, this has 5 million plus plays.
Wow.
So I mean, but this is so, and
this is their top song.
No.
What is it?
Care to fashion a guess?
Is it Stuck on You?
No, that is second.
Okay.
No, the most streamed song from this on Spotify is Another Space Song.
Oh, that's their all-time?
I don't know if that's their all-time. That has 11 million streams. If I go to Failure the Band, that's their most popular song. Another Space Song, Stuck on You, Saturday Savior, Nurse Who Loved Me, and then Undone from Magnify.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good one. Nothing from Heart of a Monster is even in the top 10.
Nope. It's all Fantastic Planet with Undone and Frogs from Magnified. That's it.
Wow.
Or Comfort. Is that Comfort? Wait a minute. That might be Comfort. No, it's Magnified. Yeah. Had a while.
I mean, if you think about it, though, that album's been out for how long? So.
Yeah. Okay, so coming up Saturday Savior with second track test, Sergeant Politeness. And this is an acoustic guitar that starts out with, right, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So that's another thing to talk about at this album. The clever use of acoustic electric bass, the way all the guitars are layered. And they pull it off live.
So I don't quite remember them pulling that off live because that was fucking 10 years ago. So I can't tell you, yeah, I remember that because I really don't. But after this, I'm going to go back and watch a bunch of videos and see how that is.
Okay. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is like one of them timeless rock grunge tracks right here. I mean, this is, when you hear this track, if you've never heard this band, you automatically know what time frame this came from.
Mm-hmm.
You automatically know because it just sounds like it came from there.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, the first two tracks, yeah, they're if you want to get into this band, you never heard them, just listen to these first two tracks.
I would say you could go all the way through to track 7, and that gives you the perfect microcosm of what this band sounds like. And we didn't talk about Tim with Saturday Savior. This album starts and ends with that chime sound, which then I think shows back up in one of their later EPs. They use it again.
Yeah, they do. I had that in my notes as well. Yep.
So we have Saturday Savior, Sergeant Polite. Then we have the first segue, which I actually think these pieces of music, because it's a piece of music, it's not a song, it's a piece of music. I think they perfectly just the I can hear it in my head. I don't know how to describe it, but it actually helps. They're not really transitions, right? Because you're not moving from one part of the album to another. It's just a way to move into the next set of songs, but I think it's done so beautifully.
Well, yeah, it's essentially a jam song, if you think about it. The first segue. It's basically just a jam song. That's about it. And then it goes, it puts you in the Smoking Umbrellas, which is another great track.
Unbelievable. And that starts out with the solo guitar too, right? Yep.
Yeah. Dude, that song in the chorus, dude, that driving guitar and drum sound that they have going on, dude, so good. It's just, when you listen to that track, sorry to cut you off, but when you listen to that track, you could tell, and I don't care what anyone says, you could tell all of the post-grunge bands that play nowadays have influences from this record.
Whether they know it or not, or
whether they know it or not. Yeah.
Yes. To me, the chorus, he goes up a level in volume. He almost goes up, not a full pitch, but he goes up a step. But he doesn't distort and his voice doesn't crack, which is what I always remember about this song. Wait, umbrella. Like he goes up, but it never sounds. You can tell he's not like and he's not going. He's not struggling.
Yeah.
Again another highly singable chorus.
The only thing I hate about this record is the drums. They're not
Why?
that they're played wrong. The drum production is fucking bad, dude.
It is kind of muddy. It's kind
It's
of muddy.
bad. It sounds really bad. I think
Ah,
if they went and remastered this, remixed it, they could really do this some benefits.
shit.
If they sampled that kick, all you really have to do is sample that kick and make it more profound, and I think this record's even better than it is.
That's a fair statement. That's definitely a fair statement. So
I mean,
after smoke,
I know it's his first record. Don't get me wrong, but when you listen to like their other stuff, the kick drum is way more prominent. So, but who am I? I'm Tim sitting here talking about it.
whatever. Two jabronis in South Philly. So after smoking umbrellas, we had the first song. This is the song that stuck that I heard, and I have to buy this album. Track number 5, 1.4 million streams, 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Pillowhead. I fucking love this song.
This is the song right here that I think has the most Nirvana influence in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can hear that. I can hear that.
That intro with the acoustic and drums, I love that shit, man.
And then it drops out, so it's just the bass and the drums, and then the guitar comes in. Oh, it's a short song too, right? It's only 2 minutes.
Yeah,
But
nobody was doing that back then.
right.
Nobody did that shit too. So like when I went back and listened to this, I was like, oh, that's fucking really good. It's really nice.
And between every other song being 4 and 5 minutes, and you have your segues of 1 minute and 20, one short song here or there, it's peppered in your track list, really does it stands out. It stands out.
Yeah, because the next song for me on Blank, it's like you go from your typical fast-paced rock song to the slow, clean thing, and I'm like,
See, I think this is your typical track 4, right? So track 4, you have the banger to open, you have the follow-up, you have the mid-tempo jam, and then you have your ballad or your hey, we got to take a breath. It's always track 4. This to me, this is technically would have been track 6 because there's a segue, but this is their track 4 where they go and they take a breath. But I will say this, for one of the slower, cleaner songs in the album, it's actually really pretty. And if you listen to the lyrics, I kind of like the blank way that you fill up my life. I mean, he writes a lot of quasi love songs. In hindsight, we know he was talking about his love for pharmaceuticals, but the lyrics again, we haven't even talked about that yet. The lyrics in this album are actually fantastic too.
yeah, I mean, the song is good for me, but it's just too fucking long. It just drags, dude.
It is quite long.
It drags and drags. I'm like, you could have cut this by 2 minutes, and I would have liked it even better.
So we come out of blank, which is a little bit of a long one. We go into segue 2, which is very ambient, electronic, right? No guitars, just kind of noises. And then it goes into track 8, Dirty Blue Balloons. What is your thoughts on this one, Tim?
See, like I said, my only problem with this record is how long it is. But when you get to songs like this, you really appreciate this record because this is one of my favorite songs on the record.
Really?
Yeah, I love this one, man. Great fucking riffing in this one, dude. This is the epitome of what you would expect from a grunge record back then, I think. I just really love this track. And this is the track I went back after it was done, and I was like, let me hear that again. I'm like, this is what I appreciate about bands like this. They can do the fucking blank track where I'm like, but then they go to this one, and I'm like, yeah, the wait was worth it.
This is one of those songs where the intro does not do the song any justice because how quiet and slow the intro is compared to how noisy and truly grungy it ends.
Yeah.
2 completely different ends of the spectrum in one 4-minute song.
That's what I love about it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those sneaky songs. You're like, oh, do I like this one? And then you get halfway through, you're like, yes, I do like this one.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yep.
That's where I start to appreciate stuff like this. Because at first you're like, oh, here we go with another fucking 8-minute fucking slow jam. And then it just fucking kicks you in the face, man.
Yes.
I love shit like that. So yeah, one of my favorites on the record, definitely.
So they follow Dirty Blue Balloons with This Is a Live Stable for them, Solaris. What do you think of Solaris?
I love the harmonic intro. Yeah, I mean, come on, dude. That fucking dirty but clean harmonic intro is fucking great.
This is the one. Is this the one with the chorus? I'm on an ocean, and there's like the kind of harmonics in the back, but they're very low. Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, this is another one where it's like way ahead of its time. I mean, people obviously use harmonics like that, but the natural harmonic feel in this, it's like it makes the whole fucking song better. It shows the creativity of the band right here.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's a good word. That's a great word to use, actually. The creative aspect of what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Because this is a song which is just a little bit, again, they're playing at the margins. Here's the failure sound, and each song kind of leans into a different margin, but it still is unmistakably failure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the harmonic thing, like after this, you hear so many bands rip that off. Not saying that this is where it came from in origin, but this is one of them bands back then. You didn't hear this type of shit going on. So to
So
me, I kind of take it as they were one of the pioneers of it.
So we're gonna get the guys from Knock Loose on and have them admit that the intro from Counting Worms is stolen from Failure, and that would be, you want to talk about a coup of newsmaking. So Tim, what do you think of track 10? So this is track 10. Technically, this is the eighth full song. Pitiful.
To me, it's just another rock track in all regards. I mean, nothing special in this one to me, honestly. This is one of the tracks where I'm like, it's could be cut off for me.
So I agree. I would dump this one. This to me is their least grunge, most rock track. Like it's a chorus. It's the typical verse chorus structure. I think it's not a bad song per se, but it's very much, it doesn't go, again, like I just talked about, it doesn't go to the margins to make you pay attention to it. It's just a straight up mid-90s rock track.
It's and for me, Leo is the same as Pitiful for me. There's another track where I could have did without, and I wouldn't be mad.
Agreed. I listened to it and I'm like, yeah, I don't know why this made. Okay, so we're now 11 tracks in. We're technically 9 songs in. Had two kind of lemons. We hit Segway 3, which I believe is all the same thing, right? Is this all sound or was this guitar too?
It's both. It's like a driving like synth, not synth, but like
Yes. Acoustic. Yeah.
yeah.
So
It's good
now we
though.
end up with the bottom, I guess, third of the album. I think it is a true sign of an amazing jaw-dropping band when you can get to the second half of the second side and it is straight heater, banger, banger. Like these guys, they crush the closing of the album. They
Yeah.
crush it. So we started with The Nurse Who Loved Me, which is one of those songs where it's so beautiful. It actually brings tears to your eyes. Like Tim said, A Perfect Circle covers this on the One Covers album they did. And this is a song about him singing about heroin and the nurse who has the keys to the pharmacy and what it does to him. Unbelievable.
The track starts out and you're like, oh god, another one of these, and then it just progresses into fucking beautifulness. You're
Yeah.
absolutely 100% right with that.
And there's a point where you know he's kicking the floor and he's hitting the distortion pedal on and the guitar takes off and you're like, holy shit. Like,
Well,
how do
that
you
was an
how are you high and you wrote that riff?
well, that's another thing back then that people used to do. They used to actually kick their distortion pedal on.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it's I record this part in the distortion. There's no see that's the big thing about music these days is on stage. When you see a band nowadays, you don't ever see them kicking the pedal on
Dude,
because the
I
dude in the
love
back,
that.
yeah, because the dude in the back is hitting it for them, or it's programmed by MIDI and they just fucking hit it with their foot real quick. You don't even notice it. Like, remember seeing like Smashing Pumpkins back in the day and they would
Mm-hmm.
fucking hit that distortion or
I
any
think that's
band.
cool to see a like Wes Borland plays with a huge pedal set and he's always hitting the buttons. Ken Andrews, last time I saw them, he plays with one of those. I don't know what it's called, but it looks like an iPad. It's mounted on the mic stand and he can like program shit in. But you know who I always remember? Back when I saw them off Worship and Tribute, Glassjaw. Because there's a bunch of videos where Justin Beck, before they go into Tip Your Bartender, where he comes down on the pedal and it's wah. Like that's the shit that you remember in a live show. And this is why Tim and I talked about the importance of physical. We talked about the importance of live music. You got to go see these guys. You got to see bands live to really appreciate it because that also tells you where, yeah, maybe they're just good in the studio.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Like,
like I said, you just don't see it anymore because everything's programmed. Everything's just, let me hit this real quick, this button in between the song, and it automatically knows at the 2 minute mark to switch to this
which is
phase or
kind of
that.
lame.
It is lame, dude.
Kind of lame. Kind of lame. Bring back the danger. Bring back the danger that you missed time and hit the wrong pedal and shit goes crazy.
Yeah, man.
So we got A Nurse Who Loved Me, and then we have again 11.9 million streams, so almost 12 million. This is another space song. This is what they opened Tree of Stars with. Just this is a beautiful song. Like it really is a beautiful song.
This is at the point where I'm ready for the record to be over, and then I'm reminded again of how great of a song, or how great
Mm-hmm.
songwriters they are. How great of a songwriter he is, they are. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it's like at first you're kind of like, oh God, here we go again. But then it's just like, yep, that's a beautiful one.
Yep. Yep. So
It's bands like this that can do that keep you engaged as well.
yeah, because you're like, holy shit, how many minutes am I in? How much track am I on? And then it keeps going. You're like, oh my God, another really good song.
You know what's crazy about this record is I think a lot of these songs, like it just shows you how good of a songwriter somebody can be when they're like, fuck, we're gonna put 3 of our best songs at the end of the record. Fuck you.
Yeah, right. Fucking stick around, buddy. You didn't see nothing yet, right? So you got The Nurse Who Loved Me. You've got another space song, and then you've got Stuck on You, which Butch Vegas not wrong. This is a song that you will find yourself. You literally will. It is an earworm. You will find yourself humming it, and it's just a well put together song with a great chorus. And watch the video if you like Bond movies. Watch the video. I think anybody will enjoy it.
Hot take right here. This is the best Failure song ever written. I don't care what anyone says. This is their best song. This is their magnum opus track for me. It's incredible, dude.
It may not be my favorite, but you're probably not wrong. It is probably the most perfect song that they have written.
Dude, that earworm riff in there, he's not wrong, dude. It catches you, man, and you just hum it. I love this shit, man.
Yeah,
my favorite song on the record. My favorite song by them. It's not even a comparison with anything else. This is their best track.
It is. It's really amazing. And again, we're talking track 15.
Yeah, 15.
Track 15.
Which
First
is wild,
single,
dude.
track 15. So then we have the last two to close out the album. We have Heliotropic. What you think of this one, Tim?
At this point of the record, I'm struggling a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I fucking do love the bass tone in this. It's very dirty sounding.
Agreed. It's a great song, but you just had banger, banger, banger. You're kind of tired, right? And you're also 16 tracks in. Your ears are kind of feeling it.
Yeah, you're ready for the next record at this point. Not going to lie.
Not but it. Well, yes, and that. Daylight. Daylight is a great album closer, right? When I saw the Tree of Stars tour, this is what the song they ended with, and they brought the house lights up as they were playing, if I remember correctly. I mean, it's a perfect album closer, but like you said, there were so many moments where you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And you're 17 tracks in, little bit of editing, couple, verses here and there, couple songs. You're at a very compact, almost ruthlessly talented album.
Yeah, I mean, in the 90s, I think that the best music was written in the 90s. I don't care what anyone says. If you were born in 2000, cool, you might think 2010 was the best year ever. I think as a decade from 1990 to 2000, there's the best music was written. I don't care what you say. I'm never going to agree with you. I mean, I think if there's 25 of my favorite records, I think literally 18 of them come from the 90s. And that says a lot, dude.
Yeah, it really does. This is one of my, if you have to name 5 perfect albums off the top of your head, this is one of the first. This is always number 1 or number 2 for me. It always just comes right off the tongue. Amazingly talented band. They went on to do some amazing stuff. That newest album is still pretty good too. I forget what the newest one is.
Something Droid, right?
Yes. Just very, very talented, interesting band with an interesting sound. It's great that they get some of the attention that they get now. I will tell, I said it to Tim, I'll tell everybody listening, find Ken Andrews' stuff, find Autolux, find Year of the Rabbit, their early stuff. This is a group of talented musicians doing really talented stuff, and it's enjoyable listens. The song I was thinking about, Tim, if you go back to Comfort, the song just listen to Frogs. That's all you need to listen to, and you're like, all right, this is perfect. That's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I want to ask you a question though. Why do you think they weren't able to replicate the same fame and like success as the peers though? Was it just because of the label?
I think that album comes out when it's done. They had more than a fighting chance. You remember the Lollapalooza they played, it was, so think about who those headliners were in Lollapalooza. And I know we go back to tours a lot, but who people were touring with those festivals at that time speaks a lot about the cultural trends.
Yeah.
On that year of Lollapalooza, the two big bands were Korn, Tool, Orbital, Damian Marley, Tricky. So you had trip hop, you had the electronic stuff, you had the kind of weird stuff all coming out. So this is when it wasn't really sure what the next big thing was going to be. So you had all this experimentation going on, and I'm trying to see who else was there. I mean, I know it was Korn and Tool, which is why I went. Shit, where was it? Where did I see that article? There it is, Lollapalooza. So Lollapalooza in '97, the bands were Orbital, electronic, The Prodigy. I didn't see The Prodigy. I don't remember seeing The Prodigy. Jesus, The Orb. The Orb was there. Tool was there. Snoop was there. Tricky, Korn, Julian Marley, Failure. And on the second stage was stuff like old 97s, Inch, Beck, the Eels, weird shit, right? Dr. Octagon, Orbit. I don't remember The Prodigy being there, and I'm really, if they were there, whatever. I mean, Fat of the Land wasn't out yet, but I just think that it was the great talent, wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, wrong label. Yep.
No good support. Playing a sound that was kind of
on its
fence.
downfall.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. But I would agree.
But I would be curious, maybe I'll reach out to them and see if we can get somebody on, because I'd be curious to see what they think. Do they appreciate that in hindsight? They're looked at as one of those bands that again, the comparisons to Hum are apt. They're looked at as one of those bands that was so sickeningly influential, but never got the nod when they were around.
Yep. Yeah, I would love to talk to Ken. That'd be amazing.
That'd be really, really cool. All right, so people, check out Ken Andrews' stuff. Check out Failure. Check out On. Tim, out of 10.
7 for me.
It's a 10 for me. It's a 10. Even with the dog as of a track, I'll take it. I'll take it as a fucking 10.
Nothing wrong with that, dude. Nothing wrong with that at all.
To our listeners, to our watchers, if you've never heard Failure, check this shit out. Go check Failure out. And then get back to us in the comments. Send us an email. Newbreed_podcast, Twitter and Instagram. Newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on YouTube and leave a comment. What did you think? Is this your first time hearing them? Did you like it? Do you hear the grunge? Do you hear something more? Would you go see them live? Who knows? Who knows? So I want to thank you all for tuning in again, watching, listening, paying attention. This has been a fun ride. The next album is going to be even wilder. Tim, any final thoughts before I close this out?
No, but like Jay said, go listen to this record if you never heard it. If you listen to this whole episode and you never heard it, that's fucking awesome. But go listen to the record, come back to this again, and then you can see all the things we talked about. But yeah, and Ken has probably produced a lot of your favorite records, so.
Yes, and these guys have influenced everybody and their mother without even knowing it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
great record, man. Though
good. This is one of those that we've overdue for. There's a couple other on our short list of shit we're gonna get to from that era. So thanks again for watching, tuning in, listening. Check out Drowner and the single they released through our YouTube channel. Check out all of our past episodes. Thanks for copping in. Drop us an email, send us a message, 267-297-4627. Leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on the air. Did you like it? Did you not like it? So I want to thank you for tuning in. Until next time, this is New Breed Podcast saying cheers.
Later.